All right, good morning. My name is Stephanie and we are at Brain Training for PD Active. This month in March, we're starting our new series throughout March and likely will drip into April as well. The topic is balance training. And I'm gonna just take a few minutes to talk a little bit what balance training means. Because a lot of times when people ask for balance training, their thought process goes to, I want to be better at standing on one leg. This is balance. But in actuality, in our lives, we're only standing on one leg for split seconds at a time. We're not going through our life standing on one leg. Maybe we visit the single leg in our gait for a split second, or maybe we're standing and maybe like reaching for something for a split second, but it's not very often and it's not very long. So when we're talking about balance training, we want to think more dynamically, more functionally. So potentially what I want you to kind of reframe your brain about balance training is maybe you're in this position here and you're lifting yourself off the floor. And there's this moment of maybe single leg balance and then kind of like recuperation of that balance. Okay, so that would be kind of a weight shifting or what we would call a level change and figuring out your balance in that weight shifting and level change. Another example in your everyday life might be you're standing or you're walking through a crowd and someone shoves into you. And so so that pulse comes into you and knocks you off balance. And so balance training would be then preparing you for those situations where you feel a pulse come into you, you react, you stabilize, and then you weight shift back to counter that force coming into you, okay? So that recuperation of a force coming in, redistributing it, and then pushing it back out. Balance training could also be a deceleration. So for example, you're walking and a cat crosses your path and you suddenly have to stop, as opposed to continually stumbling forward and then maybe tripping over something. Speaking of tripping, maybe the balance recuperation is you trip over something and then again, you sort of have to like catch yourself, stop the acceleration forward or acceleration down to the floor, and then counter those forces that are acting on you from that momentum perspective. So there's lots of different ways that we encounter balance challenges in our day. And so I want to get us away from thinking that balance is just single leg balance. It's more than that. It's reaction, it's weight shifting, it's perceiving our environment, decelerating, accelerating, feeling and reacting. So I'm going to share my screen and because I'm a visual person, and so I kind of like to assume that maybe some of you are as well. And talking a little bit about the components of balance training, we will visit all of these components in our classes through the next like 2 months. I may or may not explicitly share the category that each exercise falls into of these categories. But just so you know, and then maybe if you're thinking, oh, why are we doing this? And then you can kind of go back to this list and say, oh, this is a such and such exercise. So I put these in an order, kind of in a hierarchy actually of importance. And those of you that have been attending class for a while know that the nervous system is the top of the food chain. It is what governs all. So when we're talking about anything really movement related, or nervous system training, which Parkinson's is a nervous system condition, we want to be addressing the nervous system. And so we're first going to be working with the vestibular system. The vestibular system lives inside your ear. So oftentimes I'll point to my ear when I say vestibular. It lives inside your ear, and it is responsible for helping you calibrate the visual inputs that you're getting in your eyes and the tipping of your head. Okay, so the brain gets those two inputs, visual input and the tipping of your head, and they need to sort of be calibrated together to give you a perception of what's level. Secondly, we want to work on proprioception. This is the brain map of our body, where our limbs are in space. So if you are stepping over a rock, you need to perceive how high do you need to bring that leg to get over that rock or over the cat or over the grandchild's toys or whatever. Okay, so the perception of where your body is in space so that we can move your limb appropriately to the environment. Reaction time and reflexes. This is a big category, and it involves being able to see something. So see something in our environment and then be able to react to it, right? We talked about seeing something in our pathway and decelerating appropriately so that we don't bump into that thing, and then being able to regain balance after having that momentum. Sometimes we need to be able to hear something and react to it. And then oftentimes, and this is my favorite, this goes with proprioception, is being able to feel something and react to it. So if you are stepping on an unstable surface, your foot and ankle proprioceptors can feel that and then react to it in an appropriate way that doesn't make you lose your balance. So which muscles need to reflexively engage in your foot, your ankle, and your hips, your core, to reflexively make sure that you maintain upright and not go down. Now, sometimes those forces that are coming into you, or gravity, are quite large. And so we may need to accommodate for forces coming into our body. Accommodation is kind of the word that we use. So if something's coming into you, like a force is coming into you, someone hip checks you, you will if you don't weight shift with that force, you're going to just like topple over. If you're just top heavy, you'll topple over this way, but you didn't do anything down at the base of support here to accommodate for those forces. So being able to weight shift and then weight shift back. Okay, especially if you start to weight shift like too far, how can I weight shift back into my center of gravity there, center of mass? This can be left and right weight shifting, and it can also be like front of the foot, back of the foot weight shifting. So weight shifting forward, weight shifting backwards. Okay, I promise we're almost done. And then this last one, ankle mobility and accommodation. So I'm going to pull my camera just down so I can show that a little bit. Ankle mobility, both in the sense of being able to, if I'm falling forward, come up onto my toes or come back onto my heels. If someone bumps me from the front and I'm like, whoa, all right. Same thing here. If someone shifts me to the side, I need to be able to move my ankles this way or move my ankles this way, okay? Or even cross over, if someone bumps me and I cross over this way, being able to accommodate here, the ankle mobility there that allows me to stay upright and not actually fall over. Okay, so I hope that was a nice little kind of like quick introduction on what balance training is in my brain and what I'm going to be programming in for these next couple of weeks for this series. Again, this is like the most lecture that you're going to get from me. And I want you to take this lecture with you through the next several classes. And if you have questions on that, we can talk about that at the end of class. All right, so first we're just going to go ahead and stand up if you haven't already stood up. And we're just going to do a little bit of a self-assessment to see where our baseline of balance is. And contrary to what I just said, we are going to check it with a single leg balance, but we are going to be working through exercises that also you can assess yourself in a more functional way. So I want you to, I'm going to give you lots of options on how to do the self-assessment, and you can pick, because we have a wide range of abilities right here today. So pick which one makes the most sense for you. So I want you to start in a staggered stance and see how that feels for yourself. You can put your hands on your hips or whatever. Note which leg you have in front, because we're going to do both sides. And just stand here. How does this feel for you? Does it feel pretty easy? Not too bad? Look down, make sure that your toes are forward. The back foot and the front foot is forward. Good. And if this feels pretty good for you, I want you to just turn your head and look to the left and look to the right. Did that make it easier, or, I'm sorry, did that make it a little bit harder? Maybe that was a big jump for you, or maybe that wasn't too overwhelming. And then the last sort of bit right here, we're just going to close our eyes. And again, this is where maybe having a chair or being next to a piece of furniture or the wall is helpful, because these balance things, when we start involving the eyes, they kind of creep up on you. Okay. And then just take note of what that felt like in your body. Let's go ahead and switch to the other side. So other foot forward. Just a note as well, the wider you have your stance, the bigger base of support you have. So the more your structures are going to support you, the more narrow your stance are, or the more you're on a tightrope, the harder it gets. So just be mindful that that's a variable as well when you're self-assessing how your stance is lining up. Okay. So get yourself here. Again, this may be enough to challenge your balance. Maybe not. Let's go ahead and turn our head right and left. And if that wasn't too overwhelming for you, go ahead and close your eyes. And you may notice that when you're closing your eyes, you get a little bit more kind of wobbly. We took out your visual sense. We took out part of your vestibular system in that. So we can see how much that vestibular system is really, that visual input in the vestibular system is involved with your balance. All right, go ahead and bring your feet together. And either using a chair or not, or a cane or a walker, we are going to stand on one foot. Go ahead and stand on one foot. And just notice what your ankle has to do in order to allow you to stand on one foot. My ankle's going, right? That's the proprioception that we're talking about. That's the weight shifting, the accommodation, the proprioception. Now, if you're able to do this and it's not too overwhelming for you, go ahead and look right and left. Just note where you're at. And then if that's not too overwhelming for you and you want to try closing your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. Notice what happens to that ankle. Ooh, yeah. Good. And then go ahead and switch to the other foot. Okay. So we're just taking some mental notes on what your baseline is, because I can only see for some of you like waistline up, and there's several of you. So you need to be self-assessing yourself. I'm just going to take you through the process. All right. So standing on one leg. Some of you, this may be enough of a balance challenge, but notice what the ankle is doing. Let's add in that vestibular and visual challenge. Turn your head to the left, to the right. Woo. And then if you're feeling like you want to try the eyes closed, go ahead and try that. And just make your mental notes. Is one side different than the other? Where's your sticking point? What challenges you the most? Perfect. All right, go ahead and give yourself a march around the room. We're going to get into our drills here. And we talked about the nervous system being kind of the top of the food chain, that hierarchy. We're going to work a little bit of proprioception first, and then we'll go into vestibular. Remember, proprioception is the brain map, how you perceive your limbs, how you know where your limbs are in space, right? Without looking at your foot, you can kick your leg out to the side and know that your leg went out to the side, okay? So right here, we're just gonna take our hands and we're gonna give ourselves a little bit of sensory input down into the leg and back up. You can do this seated or standing, okay? So you're just gonna rub your leg, and just this sensory touch, either doing it yourself or having a partner do it, gives you a really, really good brain map of your leg, okay? Make sure that you get the back of the leg too. Remember, you can do this seated too if you want to sit in a chair and do this, if that's a little bit easier for you. As I was saying, do the back of your legs too. It's kind of interesting when you look in a mirror, sometimes you can have a better brain map of the things that you can see when you're in a mirror, but the body part behind you just kind of gets a little bit forgotten. Good. If you can reach the top of your foot, rub the top of your foot as well. And we're gonna stay on the same leg. Stay on the same leg for me. All right, next, you're gonna take your ball. So this is like a foot release ball. You can also use a can of hairspray, canned food. I did try using a can of olives, but I dented the can actually. So just be mindful of what you're using here. And we're gonna place this ball underneath your foot. The same foot that you just did, we're gonna place it underneath the foot. Sorry, underneath the foot of the same leg you just did your rubbing, okay? And right here, I want you to smash the ball underneath your foot. This is actually Stella's dog toy. She's like, what are you doing? And for those of you on the recording, we talked about this briefly before the class started. I'm wearing some toe spacers to help create some a bigger base of support of my foot. If you think about if your toes are separated, you're gonna have a bigger base of support than if your foot's really narrow and tight. It's gonna be harder to balance, right? If you kind of widen out. So the toe spacers are a way to stretch out. And then go ahead and finish with the ball just underneath your toes or underneath the ball of your foot. And we're gonna pull the toes to wrap the toes over the ball and then release the toes up, let them flare. So we'll pull the toes over the ball and then release them up and flare them. Good. Couple more. I'm going to do it with my fingers so you can see it and then flare. She's like, that's my toy. Last one. It's one of those ones that you put food in. So she's like, there's supposed to be treats in there. Good. All right. And we're going to take that same foot and we're going to stomp it on the floor. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Get the vibration coming from underneath your foot all the way through. Stella, all the way through to the hip. Good. And then go ahead and just stand with your feet underneath you and take a moment to feel the difference between the side that you just engaged with and the side that you did not just engage with. Hopefully they feel just a little bit different. Your sense, your grounding, maybe you're even feeling more weight through the side that you just did because your brain is more confident in that side. It's like, oh, I really know this side is there and I trust it a lot. Good. All right, so let's go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So if you want to take a seat to do your leg rubbing, go ahead and do that, or you can do it standing, just enough to get kind of, and it's not like a massage per se, you're more rubbing the skin. So especially if, I know it's cold out today, but if you are skin to skin, that's even the best. If you're wearing shorts. And then make sure you get the top of the foot as well. And another way that you can do this, if you're feeling like your hands are moving kind of slow, you can use a hairbrush too. If you just use that's what the dry brushing is, part of what dry brushing does for you. So like if you just use a hairbrush and you brush the skin, you want to get a little bit of tugging on the skin. That's a nice tool too. Great. All right, let's go ahead and use the ball. This is better standing. You can do this seated. Better standing, but you can do it seated. All right, so we're going to start with just taking the ball and smashing it on the bottom. Actually, my favorite ball to use for this is just a tennis ball. Oh, I have dryer balls. I could have used those too. They have a really nice brand too, is the Yoga Tune-Up. If you're looking to invest in a nice foot release ball, the Yoga Tune-Up is good too. And they're not too, I mean, I think they're like 12 bucks. These toe spacers are like 15 bucks also, and this is a really nice brand. Okay. And then finish with the ball right underneath your toes. And we're gonna squeeze the toes over the top and then release the toes. Squeeze the toes over the top and then release. So we're activating the muscles of the bottom of the foot and your toes. Yep. These muscles are important for that weight shifting that we talked about, the forward, backwards weight shifting. Okay. Last one. Good. And then go ahead and stomp out that foot. Let the vibration come up. And I'm being quiet because I've got downstairs neighbors, but if you are able to really make some noise, go ahead. Get the vibration all the way through. Yeah. Excellent. Good, good. All right. Kick the ball off to the side so that we don't trip on it later. We're done with that ball for right now. And I want you to walk around the room and just notice how your brain is perceiving your feet in that gait pattern. Can you feel the floor a little bit more? Does the carpet feel more plush? Do you feel the articulation of your foot on the ground, the accommodation, the mobility? Great. All right, let's activate a little bit the feet. So whenever we stretch something, we also want to activate it. So I'm going to use a chair just for a little bit of balance. You don't have to. You can also use the wall, is nice. Standing with your feet about hip width apart. We're going to come up onto the balls of your feet and then slowly lower the heels down. Now, I don't want you to rest at the bottom. I just want you to tap your heel and then come back up into that high heel, releve, calf raise, whatever world you come from. Heel down and then heel up. Now be mindful here as you're working through this. And I've said this before, keep going. Just be mindful that when you come up into your calf raise, that you haven't done that. All right. We want to work on some of the strength on the midline, the middle part of your foot, the big toe side. So heel drop, heel lift. Yep. You got it. So you can see too why those toe spacers, they give you a bigger platform to lift up on. Am I selling the toe spacers yet? They're definitely an acquired taste. All right, 3 more. 2 and 1. Very nice. Great job. All right, we're going to come over to the wall or something. I'm just going to use the chair. And we're going to come into a calf stretch. So have your foot up against like the leg of the table, leg of the chair, the wall, and we're going to come into a calf stretch here. Now, if you're using a chair, it might slide away, so you're gonna have to hold it in. So we're just gonna bring our hips in towards the wall or the chair and then lean off of it a little bit. Come into the calf stretch and then back out. Yep, one more time. Now keep yourself forward into the wall or the chair, bend your knee. I know that the camera is not on that. Bend that knee so that the knee comes towards your chair or the wall, and then straighten out your knee and bring your chest and hips forward. Bend and straighten. Last 2 here. One more time. Good, nice job. Shake out that ankle. Still holding onto your chair, we're going to draw some circles with that ankle in the air. Switch the direction of your circles. You can do this seated or standing. Very good. And then release. Let's stretch the other foot. Find a slant. This is also great to do. You can just do a little drop of the heel off of a step. So if you're in a room with a step, that's really nice. And then bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. Yep. And the idea, we're just stretching the calf. So if you have a better way that you like doing this, I'm all for it. The objective is a calf stretch. Last one. Good. Shake out that foot. Let's go circles, ankle circles. Seated or standing. Switch the direction. Very nice. And then shake it out. We're going to use the chair or the wall again. Heel up squats. We did a little bit of these last series. So holding on to the chair, we're going to come up into a calf raise or a heel lift. Bend the knees to come down. Try to keep your torso upright and the heels elevated. Push up and then lower the heels down. Just a quick visit of the heels. So come down, lift, and visit. Now that squat can be as low as you feel like you want to go. So it does not need to be like all the way down. Although if you have that range of motion, that's nice because then you can pretend like you're picking something up off the floor. We talked about this at the beginning, right? Level changes, recuperating balance. Really feel the toes that we worked on, we activated, grip into the floor, pushing through that big toe and the other 4 toes. We're gonna go for 3 more. 2. Good, and last one. Perfect, and release, nice job. Go ahead and grab your pen or pencil, as well as your foot release ball. There we go. We're gonna do a bit of vestibular drills, some eye drills. You can do this seated or standing. I'm gonna do it seated to invite those that feel more comfortable seated, they don't feel left out, okay? You can do this seated or standing. Go ahead and hold your pen or pencil in one hand and your release ball in the other hand. And still looking forward, you should be able to sort of see these 2 objects in your peripheral vision. Okay, that's why I picked a bright pink pen. So you can kind of see your objects in your peripheral vision. Now, take your eyes only, so not your head, your eyes only over towards your right object. And I had to move my hand in a little bit actually so that I could actually take my eyeballs there. And then look back forward and then take your eyeballs only to your left object and pull it into the spot that you can fully focus on that object. So we're going to go from right object to left object without moving your head, just moving your eyeballs left and right. Left and right. These are called saccades or eye flick. I call them eye flick. It's a little bit more approachable name for them. You're flicking right and left. Make sure that you're not moving your head. Keep yourself honest with that. Let's go 4 more. 3 more. 2. Last one. Beautiful. Shake it out. Stand up. We're going to do a foot exercise and then an eye exercise and sort of alternate between those 2 so we're not overwhelming one system. Come back to your standing position. We're gonna go into a split stance. So let's start with the right foot forward and the left foot back. Remember, the wider your stance is this way, the more base of support you have, it's a little bit easier. If you need easier, go this way. If you want or need harder, bring your feet a little bit more narrow, more tightrope, but we still have a stride, yeah? So right here, we're gonna come up onto both feet, balls of the feet again. So calf raise, and then visit back down. Calf raise, and then visit back down. It's similar to what we did before, we're just in a different stance. Okay. Good. Calf raise up, calf raise down. You can do this standing. If you're participating seated, you can be on the floor and just work on calf raises here. With your feet just on the floor, pushing down into the ground with your toes. Yeah, and if you don't need the chair, don't use it. Let's go 2 more. Last one. Switch your feet. Here we go. Same, up and down. Good. Now we all have heard the sort of cue before, you know, look at something on the wall to keep your balance. So if you're finding this to be challenging, find something on the wall and keep your balance. If you're feeling this to be pretty easy, look at something a little bit off to the side and then come back to that center point, and then look at something off to the side and look at that center point. So start moving your eyeballs around during the balance exercise. Last 2 and 1. Very nice. Good, good. Grab your pen. Eye exercise, because we're alternating, right? Eye exercise. All right, I like to hold the pen with one hand and my chin with the other hand to keep me honest. We're gonna pull the pen over to the side. Let's go to the left. Bring your pen up towards the ceiling, and you're gonna feel like it's kind of tracing the perimeter of your eyeball sockets. So we're gonna go up and around over the top, over to the right. Make sure that you're following, and we're just going to do a really big circle, making our eyes trace the perimeter of our eyeball sockets. My eyes did something, so I'm going to point it out because maybe it's happening for you as well. We've talked in the past about smooth pursuit. So being able to track the object as it's moving through space, even though you know where that object is going, try not to skip over. Like, keep your eyes on the pen the whole time. You may feel your eyes want to skip ahead because you know where it's going, but we're going to try to say. So I want you to do 3 in one direction, close your eyes and kind of shake it out, and then we'll go 3 in the opposite direction. When I say shake it out, sometimes it feels good to like push on your eyebrows and kind of massage the eyes a little. If you're getting eye strain, you're doing it right. You're working those eyeball muscles. Three in one direction, 3 in the other. If you finish early, feel free to just do a couple laps around the room, walking or marching in place. Smooth pursuit. I felt myself skip. Good. And then march in place. Show me that you're finished by standing up and getting ready for your last calf exercise here. Calf and ankle. Okay. For this one, we're going to start to bias a single leg calf raise. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up on with both feet and then weight shift a little bit more into your left foot and lower down on the left side. And then you'll even out your weight again. So we'll go up, weight shift, lower down, biasing your left foot. Now, if that feels simple to you and you want to go fully into the left leg, what's called eccentric calf raise, then we can do that. I want you to work on the double lift and then single lower. Double lift, single lower. Nice. Eyes up. Hopefully you can keep your eyes at eye level, keep that posture nice and elongated, lifted. Let's do one more on this left side. Wonderful. Woo, that left leg got a little work. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Double lift, weight shift. Go full lift on the leg, or you can keep it down for a little bit of support. Double lift, weight shift, lower. Double lift, weight shift, lower. We got the gist? By the end of April, your feet are going to be so strong. You can probably expect to do quite a bit of foot and ankle strengthening in this series. Nice. Let's do 4 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice job. Good. Walk around the room, see how your feet and ankle feels. Feet and ankle feel. You should be very aware of your feet by now. Good proprioceptive map. Very nice. All right, we have our, not last, I'm just gonna say another vestibular exercise. So for this one, you're not gonna hold on to anything. Find something in front of you that you can lock your gaze on, preferably something about eye level. So I like to look at the light on my camera here. If you like to have your hand underneath your chin, that gives you some good proprioceptive awareness of how your head and neck are moving, okay? Automatically, I just go core and lifted chin here. That's kind of my posturing. So we're gonna keep your eyes locked on your object that's eye level. Turn your head to the left, still keeping your eye gaze on the object. Turn your head to the right, still keeping eye gaze on the object. So we're just going left and right here as far as you feel like you can turn your head, and then go to the other side. Now, as you're doing this, I want you to ask yourself, what is the limiting factor here? Do I get eye strain first, or does it feel like my neck is tight and I'm unable to go a little further in order to get the full benefit of the eye movement? Okay, ask yourself those questions, because then it will tell you, oh, I need to do a little bit just general neck mobility, or I need to do, if you're getting that eye strain pretty quickly, I need to do more eye drills. One more time, each side. So you do about 10 or so cycles, and then I just do the like wash your face, put some pressure on your eyes, kind of brings it down a little bit, and then go ahead and walk around the room. Good. All right, let's grab your foot release ball or any ball for that matter. If you want to use your letter ball, you can. We're going to start with a really wide base, really wide, and then feet forward. Good. And I see all of you standing, so I'm just going to give you the standing options for this. We're going to work on some weight shifting. And remember, when you have a wider base, your balance is supported by the structures of your skeleton, right? You can kind of just, we call it resting in the joint, okay? So when you have a wide base here. What I like about this posturing as well, this is where I get real nerdy with the feet and ankle mechanics. Bear with me. When you have a really wide base, you get a stretch on the outside of that ankle, which is really nice for accommodating this kind of thing, this crossover step. We talked about accommodation, okay? So maybe you can make yourself as wide of base until you feel a little bit of stretch on the outside of the ankle, just to get that little multitasking benefit here. All right, let's take the ball that's in your hand. We're gonna bring it down to your left foot. Touch your left foot. Now the question is, can you touch the left foot without looking at it? So can you keep your eyes forward, maybe on that object that you were looking for? Can you touch that left foot without looking at it? And then bring yourself back up to stand. What I would like here is getting your butt down. So you have to bend your knees so your eye gaze and your head is still up, and then pressing off. This is that weight shifting component that we were talking about. So we're getting now vestibular, weight shifting, and proprioception all at the same time. Here we go. Tap and push to center. We're going to stay on this left foot. Tap and push to center. Tap, push to center. You got it. Tap, push to center. Now I'm going to start holding up some numbers on my screen with my hand, and I want you to try to tell me what that number is as you're touching your foot. Are you ready? Here we go. I don't know if you can see. You can say it out loud. Ready? Tap, go. As you're touching the foot, look at my hand. Good. As you're touching your foot, look at my hand. There we go. As you're touching your foot, look at my hand. There you go, Bill. Nice job. Here we go. Couple more. Some accountability. You go this way. You know, work on my finger separation, apparently. Last one. Very nice. Good. Walk around the room. You can throw the ball up to yourself if you'd like. All right, same thing on the other side. So wide base, walk your feet out, feel the ankle accommodation on the right leg. Let's try a few without the numbers. And then we'll get going with the numbers if we need it, all right? I added the numbers because I saw all of y'all going like this. Remember, we want to try to get the brain map of, okay, where's our foot without us actually looking at it, okay? Can we touch our foot without actually looking at it? Okay, go ahead. I'm going to watch you. Keep your eyes forward on me. I may start the numbers. I may not. Aha, there we go. Good. Really wide base. You can do this seated too, right? You can do this seated. Just touch your foot and then sit back up tall. Touch your foot and sit back up tall. But if you're sitting, you can have really wide base. All right, I'm going to start doing numbers. Here we go. As you're touching, say them out loud. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Much better, team. Nice job. Two more. And one more time. Maybe you're getting some heart rate too. A little bit of aerobic. Go ahead and walk around the room. Toss the ball to yourself if you'd like. Good. Okay, we're gonna make this a little bit more dynamic. If it feels like this next challenge was too much for you, go back to what you did just before this, okay, with the touching of the foot, okay? I'm just gonna be layering in the exercises, so for those that need the increase in challenge, it's here. For those of you that don't want it, just do the step right below. All right, so we're gonna go over, we're gonna touch the foot with the opposite hand, same thing, and then push off and step together. Okay, so we're gonna go step out, touch, step together. Same thing, eyes need to stay forward. Touch, step together. Eyes stay forward, which is tricky. That means you need to get your butt down, right? If my eyes don't stay forward, I'm likely doing more of like a bow, and I want your butt to come low. I want you to bend your knee, bend your hip. Bend your knee, bend your hip. There we go. Let's go 4 more, please. Nice, David. There's maybe 2 more. You got it. Last one. Nice job, Alana. Good. Okay, shake it out. Maybe toss the ball a few times. Catch your breath. Of course, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Are we ready? Opposite hand to foot. Here we go. Tap, step together. Tap your foot, step together. Give yourself that sensory feedback with the ball or your hand on your foot. Give it a pat, give it a rub. Give it a little slap. Good, eyes forward. So you got to bend in your knee and your hip. If it feels okay in your knee and hip, of course. Very good. Let's go 3 more. 2 more. And last one. Nice job. Walk around the room. All right, we're going to come down to the floor for the last 5 minutes, less than that. So go ahead and start making your way down to the ground. How are we doing? Good? Is it kind of making sense? A more comprehensive approach to balance? Integrating senses. All right, whenever you're ready, we're going to come down onto the floor. Those of you, some of you get down faster than others. So if you get there, just rock your knees right and left. That one always feels good, or find a stretch that feels right for you while we wait for the team. Oops, I forgot to mention, if you have your ball nearby, grab it. If not, it's no big deal. It's kind of just a way to create a sensory experience for your hand. Again, proprioception for your hand. When you're ready, we're going to go legs out long on the ground, wider than your mat, so really wide. And have the ball in your left hand. All right, so we're going to take the ball and tap our left hip. So if the ball's in your left hand, left hip, right hip, and then back up towards the ceiling. Left hip, right hip, back up towards the ceiling. This is level 1. Left hip, right hip, back up towards the ceiling. Now, see if you can lift your head so that you can follow the ball with your eyes the whole time. So you'd have to lift up your head to look at your hip, and then head goes down, eyes to the ceiling with the ball. Lift, lift, up. Yeah? Lift, lift. Is that a sneaky crunch or what? Sneaky core work. Up. Good. 2 more. Lift, lift, up. Last one. Lift, lift, up. Same thing on the other side. Ball is in the right hand. Touch right hip, left hip, and then up towards the ceiling. Do a few without looking at it. How's your proprioception? Can you get right on the bone? Hip bone, and then up. Add the head lift, hip, hip, ceiling. Hip, hip, ceiling.
hip, hip, ceiling. 2 more. Last one. Beautiful. We're going to continue holding the ball with your right hand. Now I want you to sweep down towards your right hip, then sweep down towards the left hip, and you're going to look up at that left hip, reach the ball across the body, and pass it into your right hand. And then release yourself back onto the mat. Just you're laying on the ground. It's called an X roll. Then the ball is now in your left hand, yeah? So we're going to go left hip, right hip. Definitely look up by the time you get to the right hip. Reach across, pass the ball into your right hand, and then release back out. Now the trick is here. The hand that is receiving the ball, I don't want that hand to come up to the ball. I want that hand to be lazy, and the giving hand needs to go all the way into the receiving hand. Okay, so let's try that. So I'm going to go with the ball in my right hand. I'm going to go hip, hip with the head lift, reach across, fully give that ball to my other hand, and then lower myself down to the floor. Same thing. We go hip, hip, reach across, pass the ball, and return. Okay, just work through something like that here. A little bit of sneaky core work, right? Sneaky core work and floor agility. Not so sneaky when I say it out loud. Okay, let's go one more time each side. Good, and then release. Place that ball off to the side. We're going to do a position that may or may not feel good on your shoulders, so just bear with me. I'm going to show option 1 and then show option 2. Place your hands behind the base of your skull so that the thumbs kind of go at the base of the hairline. And right here, you're just going to give your base of your skull a little bit of an upstroke with your thumbs. Those of you that shoulder position does not feel good, I know you use this ball on your foot, but you can place that at the base of your skull as well and turn your head over the ball. Okay. I find the thumb thing to be a little bit more comfortable, but try both, see what you like. I know not everyone has the perfect ball for that. Good. And then even if you do have just your thumbs in the occiput, go ahead and rotate your head right and left, going into like maybe looking at your elbow or smelling your armpit. Just kind of cradling your head in your hands and rotating through. And you can facilitate some head rotation with your hands too. Great. Now go ahead and place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and just take a few minutes. We'll take a minute, no more than a minute, to do kind of that meditative reflection here. Focusing in on your breathing. Play back the session for yourself. What was something that was new for you today, either in experience or in intellectual understanding of what balance is? What was new for you? Was there a drill that you feel like you want to slide into your daily routine? Either because you really liked it or you feel like your body, it's important for your body to have that skill or that drill. It felt good. It's really hard. Take a breath through your nose and then a hot exhale through the mouth. like you're fogging up a mirror. One more time. Inhale. And hot exhale. Nicely done. All right, go ahead and roll yourself up to seated or make your way to standing. I'm going to wrap up the class, but I want you to do a self-assessment for yourself. How does it feel to get up off the floor? Was it pretty easy? No balance challenges? Once you get standing, you can try your single leg standing balance that we did at the beginning of class. Just self-assess for yourself, standing on one leg or a split stance. Remember, turning your eyes and head or closing your eyes will make that challenge different for you. So take a moment and go ahead and self-assess for yourself. Well, I know sometimes some people take a little bit longer to get off the floor than others. So if you have that time right here, it's a good opportunity. Standing on one leg, turning your head, split stance. So again, either in a split stance or standing on one leg. And just self-assess. How does it feel? Same, better, different, worse? Awesome. All right, I'm going to turn off the recording. If you have anything that you want to bring up to the class, any experiences that you want to share or questions, I'm here for another minute or so.